You know how some games just feel like more than 3 points in a result? This Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts is absolutely one of those. It's less a regular matchup and more like a crossroads for the Chiefs' season. Right now the math isn't pretty. The Chiefs sit about 46% to make the playoffs, and a win versus the Colts pushes that number up toward roughly the mid-50s. Lose and that probability plunges into the high 20s. Suddenly you're not just worrying about division tiebreakers, you're trying to stop the season from slipping away. The Colts bring a physical, high-powered attack, Jonathan Taylor running like an MVP candidate, multiple dangerous receivers and tight ends, and a defense that will throw different looks at you all game. That means Kansas City has to stop playing from behind. Starting fast is the simplest way to tilt the chessboard. The transcript flagged a striking trend. In 4 of the 5 losses this season, the Chiefs scored 0 on their opening drives. In both halves, goose eggs that let opponents hang around and make late drives lethal. So the plan is obvious. Get points early, force Indianapolis to answer, and make them one-dimensional. On offense, that means dialing better early down calls, getting the run game involved if Pacheco is healthy enough, and attacking the deep ball where Thornton has proven efficient this year. Mahomes admitted he's had some overthrows early, but when guys are getting open, the quarterback has to give them a chance. On defense, it's about forcing punts and getting off the field on 3rd downs so the Chiefs aren't dealing with those late one-score situations that have bitten them all season. Penalties have been a killer too. They edited drives, canceled red zone chances, and left the team kicking when they should be scoring. So expect emphasis on discipline this week. Fewer procedural and holding mistakes, cleaner execution in goal-to-goal moments, and a sharper early play-calling plan from the coaches. Quick ask: if you think the Chiefs can flip the script and win this one, vote in the comments, yes or no, and tell me one reason why. Also, do me a favor and hit like and subscribe to help us reach 6,000 subscribers. That support keeps these daily breakdowns coming. Alright, next up I'll break down the injury picture and who's actually available up front and at receiver, because that depth chart will tell us a lot about how realistic this game plan is. The injury picture this week is small in number but huge in consequence, and it will shape how Kansas City approaches the Colts game. First up, Kingsley Suamataia remains in concussion protocol and didn't practice. Andy Reid says he's doing well, but if he can't go, it looks like Mike Caliendo slides in at left guard. That's a real downgrade. Caliendo has been a reliable backup, but he graded poorly in pass protection recently and will be the weakest link on that front if he's asked to handle top interior rushers. At receiver, Xavier Worthy is the headline concern. He's been dealing with a lingering ankle and some shoulder wear for weeks. Did only a walkthrough today. And when he's not at full juice, the deep ball math changes. Tyquan Thornton has been the more explosive, efficient downfield option. The transcript called out Thornton's big yardage success on throws 20-plus yards. So if Worthy is limited, you should expect Thornton to see heavier looks and maybe even more base snaps, while the staff leans into what's actually working. On the ground, Isaiah Pacheco, practicing as a full participant wearing a heavy brace, is encouraging. That's a positive sign. But there's a real conversation to be had about risk versus reward. You don't want to re-injure him. But when the run game is inconsistent and opposing defenses aren't respecting it, getting Pacheco some early, smart touches could be the single best way to buy Mahomes cleaner downfield windows. Behind him, Bashard Smith and Elijah Mitchell haven't inspired complete confidence between the tackles this season, so Pacheco's availability matters. Finally, penalties and false starts from the line, some of which showed up last week, make these depth moves even more consequential. The Chiefs need their backups to be mistake-free if they're asking them into heavy reps. Quick question for you. If Worthy can't go at full speed on Sunday, who do you want seeing more targets? Tyquan Thornton or a quicker slot-heavy plan? And why? Drop a One-sentence answer in the comments. Also hit like and subscribe to help us reach 6,000 subscribers so I can keep these breakdowns coming. Let's get into what might be the single biggest storyline that isn't getting talked about enough: the return of Josh Simmons. And I'm telling you right now, if Simmons actually gets activated and plays meaningful snaps this week, the ripple effects across this offense are massive and mostly positive. Simmons is unique because he solves two problems at once. First, the athleticism. The transcript pointed out how the Colts' defense struggles when offenses can move the launch point or force their linebackers to respect edge speed. Simmons gives Kansas City immediate flexibility there. His ability to mirror, pull, and seal on outside zone runs or sprint out protection opens areas of the playbook that simply don't exist when the Chiefs are relying on heavier, slower bodies. That means more designed rollouts for Mahomes, more RPO flexibility, and cleaner opportunities for deep middle shots. The kinds of plays that punish Indy's tendency to sit on intermediate crossers. Second, the mental side. The coaching staff has been honest all year. Simmons is still raw, but his mistakes tend to be aggressive mistakes. Missed aiming point, overset on a speed rusher. Not the passive, drive-killing lapses you get from backups, who are just trying not to lose their assignment. When the tape shows a player who can physically dominate entire series and only needs better consistency, that's someone you want on the field in big matchups. And make no mistake, the Colts are a big matchup. The other thing to watch is how Simmons' presence improves everyone around him. The transcript highlighted the cost of blown calls and miscommunication last week. With Simmons in the lineup, the Chiefs have a more stable left-side physical profile, and that lets the staff simplify the protection rules. That's good news for a line that's been flirting with too many penalties and late snaps. And if Kingsley Suamataia remains limited or doesn't play, Simmons becomes even more critical. He stabilizes a part of the offense that desperately needs a tone setter. Your engagement moment of the chapter. Answer this in the comments. Should the Chiefs start Simmons immediately or rotate him slowly until he proves he's ready? Vote start or rotate down below. Also, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want more film-backed Chiefs content, make sure to like this video and subscribe so we can hit 6,000 subscribers. It helps the channel a ton. Now let's flip the field and talk about the Indianapolis Colts, and more importantly, what their actual plan will be against Kansas City. Because their approach is predictable, but the outcome depends entirely on whether the Chiefs execute the things we've talked about in the earlier chapters. First, the Colts are going to lean into play action, RPO looks, and quick-hit throws to neutralize the pass rush. That's been their formula against aggressive fronts, and the transcript pointed out that teams have had success when they force the Chiefs' linebackers to hesitate. Indy will try to create horizontal stress, jet motion, orbit motion, quick bubbles, anything that forces the defense to flow, then come back with slants, digs, and tight end sit routes behind it. That's also how they protect Anthony Richardson from long developing reads. Expect them to test the flats and the numbers early, then hit the seams once they've widened the defense. Second, they'll likely attack the Chiefs' tackling discipline. Last week showed some issues: overruns, misaligned fits, and poor wrap-ups in space. The Colts staff will look at that and say, let's force Kansas City to tackle 40-plus times in open space. If the Chiefs clean that up, it removes a big part of Indy's comfort zone. But if they don't, expect long, momentum-swinging drives. Here's the third thing: tempo. The transcript noted that the Chiefs struggled defensively when the pace increased. The Colts have used tempo successfully with Richardson when he gets in rhythm, especially in the middle of halves. If they hit a couple chunk plays, they'll speed up the clock instantly and keep Kansas City in vanilla coverage. That's where the Chiefs' communication issues can get exposed. But here's the key. For as much as the Colts will try, there's a limit to their ceiling. They do not have the personnel to consistently beat Kansas City downfield, especially if the Chiefs clean up the tackling and stay disciplined on first down. And if Josh Simmons plays, we just covered this. The offense keeps Richardson under scoreboard pressure instead of the other way around. That's a major leverage point. Engagement time. Chiefs Kingdom. I want your take. What's the biggest threat the Colts bring to this game? Vote play action, tempo, or open field tackling in the comments. Your answer helps shape our preview for the next video. And if you haven't yet, like the video and subscribe. We're pushing hard toward 6,000 subscribers, and every click helps. All right, let's bring everything home. After breaking down the offensive fixes, the defensive vulnerabilities, what Simmons brings, and how the Colts will try to attack, we've reached the moment where all these threads tie together. And here's the truth. This matchup says far more about the Chiefs' trajectory than it does about the Colts' chances. If Kansas City handles its business on early downs, protects Mahomes with even moderately improved line play, and avoids the tackling lapses that gifted Houston life, this becomes the kind of game where the Chiefs re-establish themselves as the AFC team nobody wants to see in December or January. That's what's really on the line. Not just a win, a statement. The biggest swing factor? It's rhythm. When the Chiefs' offense starts fast, defenses lean, coverages simplify, and Mahomes becomes impossible to trap inside. Structure. That's also when Pacheco's downhill style starts controlling the clock. But when Kansas City opens sluggish, penalties, miscommunication, missed blocks, it drags the momentum of the entire game into the mud. Against Indy, the margin for error is still there, but the tape shows the Chiefs have made life harder on themselves than necessary for 2 straight weeks. Defensively, this game may be the litmus test for whether those play-action issues are simply early-season noise or the start of a trend. Steve Spagnuolo's units almost always tighten up by mid-season, but the Chiefs need to show they can limit the cheap yards that extend drives. If they do that, the Colts won't have the firepower to keep it competitive into the fourth quarter. If they don't, suddenly you're letting an opponent hang around in a game they shouldn't belong in. And let's be honest, this is also a moment for leaders to assert themselves. Mahomes has already shown frustration with the protection. Pacheco runs angry every snap. Kelsey is the emotional spark when things feel flat. But someone on the defensive side, whether it's Chris Jones, Trent McDuffie, or Nick Bolton, needs to draw the line and elevate the standard. Great teams respond to correction. Championship teams respond instantly. So here's my official call. Chiefs 30, Colts 20. A game that stays closer than fans prefer early, but Kansas City pulls away late once the adjustments hit, and the offense finds its footing. Now I want you to sound off. Do you think the Colts keep it close, or do the Chiefs take control from the first quarter? Drop your prediction in the comments. I read every one of them. And if you haven't yet, hit like and subscribe. We're pushing hard toward 6,000 subscribers, and every single fan helps that climb. Stay locked with Total Chiefs News. Hail Chiefs!